I love coffee, I love tea, I love the Java Jive and it loves me. Coffee and tea and the Java and me.
Right. You brought in a couple of sample composters. So just what, besides these, and these look great, can you explain how they work?
Yes, I can. The large composter here is called a BioStack. It's from Smith & Hawken. It's commercially available. It's the composter we made available to over 300 families in Bellport in our home composting program. We are in the process of trying to get that started again. We have lots of new residents and people who are interested. It's obviously very attractive. It's a kind of turning unit, and by that I mean instead of the unit staying stationary, this comes apart and take one section when you want to turn the compost over or you want to harvest the compost that's basically in the bottom. You move one section to the side using a pitchfork or a spade, you move material over, you keep moving the second section on top, and finally you get down to the finished compost in the bottom, and like I said before, you use it.
Do we want to just see how that comes apart?
Sure. It's very simple. It has a hinged lid, and this would come off,
right,
and put it to the side, and then to turn it, you would move one section over to the side, or I'll put it here so you can see. Move the material that would be here, eggshells, coffee grounds, vegetable peelings, fruit cores and peelings, no meat, no fat, no butter. I don't put grains. I tried to think like a varmint, and I want to keep them out. Anything that was once a leaf or once was living will decompose, but you want to try to manage it. The smaller the pieces, the better. You need to keep it nice and moist.
In a composter like this one, obviously for folks that have, you know, larger yards like I do, you couldn't put your leaves in here.
No, you could.
This would be mainly for kitchen waste.
This was mostly designed for kitchen waste. It has air holes on the side, nice and black, so it heats up with the sun.
So it has to go in a sunny spot?
No, it doesn't have to go in a sunny spot. In fact, I have mine in not a sunny spot, and that really doesn't affect it that much. But heat will cause it to be even warmer. The bacteria themselves develop the heat that's needed to cause this process, and so it does need air, though. Good air circulation is important because it's an aerobic process.
Right.
Once it goes anaerobic, that's when you have the smell.
And that's why you have to turn it every now and then.
Yes, you get air into it. By putting some small twigs and or stems of things, you get a kind of natural layering, and that keeps some of the air going in it as well.
Great.
You mentioned leaves, though. Many people make composters out of wooden pallets for leaves, or they might take screen wire of some kind and make a larger bin with some stakes and would have a receptacle for leaves, because this would fill up too fast for yard waste. But there's certainly, and of course, you could just have a pile.
That's what I have.
You could just have a pile.
I do it incorrectly.
No,
we have a very large
legitimate
type.
It's called the pile.
But
the heap.
So just putting your leaves in a pile in the backyard is okay? I mean, is that going to create the kind of compost that people can then use in their gardens, or not?
It needs to be large enough. Remember that 3 by 3 by 3. That cubic yard formula seems to be important. So you need a pile large enough, high enough to get that center section. The more you manage it, the more you get out there and turn it, the more you water it and layer in your grass clippings and your leaves, the faster it will go. I have some good friends in East Patchogue who have 2 large piles. One, the finished compost from years before, and then an active pile that they're adding to constantly. So they're constantly switching back and forth. It takes a heat form or a pile takes a little longer, but it's worth it.
Yes, yes. And the other type of composter with the holes on top, that is?
That is a worm bin, and that is a type of composter you can use with school children or in an apartment, in your own home. I had that in my home when my kids were little. I've also used it with school children. I'm a master gardener, and I've worked with some children with worm composting. You fill a bin like that about half full with a bedding material, and then those same worms that I was talking about in this type of bin, they're called Eisenia fetida, or red wigglers, red worm. They are very content to stay in the pile. They're not night crawlers. They will not try to get out of the box or whatever. They clump together and they like to live in a nice, warm, cozy place. You can use that then to put your vegetable scraps.
So you'd lift up the lid?
Oh yes, you lift up the lid. I always had the blocks too. Again, air circulation is important.
Here comes Van.
And the school children I worked with, we did all sorts of activities with it. We weighed the amount of material that we put in. I would greet them every afternoon with a healthy snack. We'd have apples. We'd cut the apples up. We'd end up with the apple cores. We'd find a little section. We'd bury the apple cores.
In the box?
In the box.
Okay. In
the material. The next week, maybe we would have bananas. We would
it takes a long time for a peel to degrade.
Yeah, so we cut them out to make them into smaller pieces because that accelerates the process. And so forth. So we had all melons, we had all kinds of things, grapes.
Right. Now, I just want to interrupt you for a second because it was always one of my pet peeves. I mean, things like apple cores and bananas, very often when people are, say, walking on the street eating a banana or an apple, they'll toss the apple or the apple core or the banana peel. But just laying there, it takes a long time to degrade, so it is litter. But if we put it in a box like this, how long would it take to degrade?
Well, again, those issues of managing the moisture content, the size of the particles you're putting in, and the size of the pieces you're putting in to begin with, the number of worms you have in there ready to work on them, all those things are factors. But I will say that I think I said before, it does happen in spite of you. So I was so fearful that I wasn't doing things right at first, and that first time I turned the pile and there was compost there, I was really thrilled.
Excited, yes, sure.
It's really, it is very exciting.
It's great, and I think these are the type of things that we need to move towards.
Yes.
Obviously, it will, reduce. We are having fiscal difficulties, obviously, in the town of Brookhaven, and we can't continue. The cost of fuel, just the cost of processing garbage has gone up, and so things like this will help us deal with those economic problems also.
Yes.
So they're great, and this is the kind of thing we are trying to move forward.
Yes.
And I thank you for bringing it.
Oh, you're very welcome.
So thanks for coming.
Nice to be here.
We got 3 R's we're gonna talk about today. We gotta learn to reduce, reuse, recycle. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Well, if you're going to the market to buy some juice, you gotta bring your own bags and you learn to reduce your waste. We gotta learn to reduce.